So hey, what's up guys? This is what I traded the SCX10 for. If you happen to have watched that video, you know that that thing was pretty heavily modded. This, on the other hand, is not. This is, has a few things done to it, but it's not had the work put into it that the Deadbolt did. That thing was my RC baby. I've had some different RCs that have been through a lot of stuff. That Deadbolt had been through more changes as far as just work, handmade homebrew type stuff. The Deadbolt was probably my most hours spent on an RC car, kits aside. I bought that as an RTR. I've done several. I've done a couple of kits, and I still had put way more hours into that Deadbolt than anything else. I guess I really wanted a bomber ever since I saw him announced, and when the opportunity arose, I knew that I'd probably be kicking myself in the butt, you know, later on down the road if I didn't just snatch it up. So I did. I hope I don't regret it. I hope I really end up enjoying this thing, because I haven't actually had a chance to take it out on trail yet. I've messed with it in my yard. Mainly I've been going through and doing some stuff. We'll get to that later. Kind of just cinching up a few things here and there, making it at least start out the way that I want it. Now, this one, so far, what it's had done to it, what the guy who owned it before me has done to it, is, as you probably already noticed, he's got these RC four-wheel drive TSL Bogger 2.2 tires on. I'm not honestly sure. From the best guess, I would say there may be like some boom racing or something like that, bead locks. I'm really not sure. I probably should text him and ask, because we've been kind of keeping in contact a little bit, seeing, you know, what he's doing with my Deadbolt and what I'm doing with his bomber. It's kind of neat. That's something that I was kind of hoping I would end up lucking into, not somebody who just thinks I'm weird for being like, what have you done with my baby? Like, have you used it? Did you trash it? What did you do? So he's been sending me pictures and things like that, and that's been pretty cool. I'm glad that's how that worked out. But with this one, like I said, tires, wheels, he has some, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Junfac or Junfac, however you say it, the drive shafts. They're, in design, they're very similar looking to an MIP drive shaft, but they feel really, really loose. So I checked on everything on them. The way they're mounted is kind of weird, honestly. See right there in that drive shaft, let me turn it. There's a little kind of bent cotter pin that just goes through the middle of it, and then you've got a grub screw right here on these drive shafts. I don't know about that. I'm hoping that doesn't turn out to be a bad deal there. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully that's not the bane of my existence on this thing. Let's see, I think he had one other thing. He had tire weights in the front and a Savox, let me look at it closer here, SW0231 servo. I believe that is around a 208 ounce maybe servo. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 206, 208, something like that. And it's a waterproof servo, all metal gears, but that's on there. It looks like he maybe painted the little dude's head, and he did still have the original spare tire that it comes with, which it didn't have a matching bogger, but that's fine. That's totally cool. I wish that he had the full set of these BFGs, because these are really, I feel like they'd be a good tire. I believe they're the Axial R30 compound. The R30, I forget if it goes R25 or I think R35 is their softest compound. These are their kind of second to softest R30 compound. They're still pretty pliable, but they're kind of more, I would almost say like a track tire for a short course truck feel. Kind of a good mix for a vehicle like this that's set up to be more of a rock racer / kind of fast but not too fast sort of thing. I think what I wanted to point out was he did actually still have quite a few of the parts from the parts bag. Got like your axle housing kind of output sides. Those are both still in there. A couple of servo savers. Things like that. Some rod ends. Little bits and pieces here and there. Now, so far, here's what I've done to this thing. Like I said, I haven't really ran it other than just a few minutes, kind of ripping up the flower beds in my backyard. Other than that, what I have done, for starters, I, took off the ends and got my track assist, my black TRX plug, not the new ID chargers, but just the regular TRX plug. That's what I really like to use, is these. I have went through the axles, got into the transmission. I've checked, kind of cleaned all the grease off and put some good marine grease on there so that all that's good. Kind of checked all the screws, Loctited some stuff that didn't have Loctite that I wanted Loctite on, grub screws and things like that. I emptied the shocks out and put some TLR 30 weight on there. That's what I did. I'm pretty sure 30 weight or around about that is what Axial puts in their vehicle stock. And I kind of just wanted to go from there. I'll start from there, see how I like it, and then go from there. These shocks, I don't know roughly where they put the collars at stock on them, but I just kind of put them to about where I wanted to start with after kind of feeling it and seeing how it sets and things like that. And he did, I don't believe this is stock, he did put one of those little kind of body pin saver retainer kind of things on here. I'm not a real big fan of that, but because of that he does have a hole in the hood. So it is what it is. That's not a big deal though, because one of the big things I'm really wanting to do for this is make a body for it, because I do like the Bomber Fab graphics on this thing. It's a really, really cool looking panel set. I like that a lot. But I really was hoping to kind of end up with, and these are kind of a perfect tire for this, because he's got them cut so they do already have kind of here's something a dude would trailer in, that he's kind of built in his barn sort of look to them, because they're a pretty worn cut bogger tire. But what I really want to do is a panel set for it. I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to try to do. For starters, there's a type of placemat that you can actually buy at places like Walmart, or depending on where you live in the country, Costco, places like that. That's like $2 or $3 for a big placemat. And I'm thinking I'm going to cut one of those up, or get it in the right color, or cut one up, dye it more than likely to either a white or a gray, probably not black, because it already has the black cage. And Tim Gluth, Varsity Noob, if you don't watch his channel or listen to his podcast, you really should give it a listen. It's great stuff. The body panel that he did was a black body panel with some really cool Batman trim. He had a Batman taillight, a Batman figure in there. Check out his Bat Bomber build series. It's really cool. But I didn't really want to do that since he's already done that. I've seen kind of what he did with the black panels, and it really turned out cool. But I wanted to do something different. So I'm thinking about doing some either gray or white panels, and doing more of a blank, probably not a whole lot of paint on them other than just white, and then some stickers. If I do gray, maybe go for like an aluminum look. I don't really want to spend like $80 on the set of aluminum panels for this thing, or $50 even. So like I said, it's I'm tight with money. So this will be something for you to follow if you're kind of interested in doing things in the similar way that I did with my SCX-10, which was to make my links myself and do things like that. So after getting the body done, I'm going to do the body first, unless things kind of tear up in the process. Otherwise, I'll probably do the body first. I'm not positive yet. I'm going to probably try the placemat thing. If that doesn't work out, I'll go ahead and order a panel set. I just really want to try the placemat first, because even though there's only really 4 little panels for this, you got a roof panel, the doors, and the hood, this is still like a $26 body set, which is kind of, I don't know, I just have a lot of trouble swallowing the pill of about this much Lexan for $26. It just seems kind of ridiculous, especially when you consider that really there's no actual molding. This is just flat with a bend right here, and then this is flat with a bend for this fake light bar. The only thing you really have is this hood scoop, and if I can get those to work out with the placemat, as far as making a hood scoop, I've got some styrene sheeting here. I've got quite a few sheets left, and some tubing to probably make a roof rack or something like that along the way. Probably mount some lights up, make a light bar. I do have my deadbolt light bar. I might try to figure out a way to kind of get that up on there at some point. So, let's see, what else? I have went ahead. I don't know if I'm going to leave this on there for sure, but it's on there for now. We'll see how this works out. Get it to focus. I do have a hot racing metal link set for it that I ordered off of eBay the day that I got this. I just couldn't really help myself. I was a little too excited to finally have a bomber. So I did order that, and I went ahead and actually installed it the day that it came in because I was just really pumped about this thing. That and the stock links in Axial, SCX10, Axial Wraith, Axial Bomber, they're just really not great, especially the steering linkage. It allows the steering, the tires to just bow in and out like this. And I know why they do that. They do that to save the servos. They do that because the stock tactic servo they come with, like I said in my SCX10 review, there is a composite gear in there that will totally give way as soon as you do links. Or put heavier tires, things like that. And like I said, he does have heavier tires, so I'm really not wanting to blow up that $40 servo that he's got in there. But if it does happen, I do have a spare servo sitting around, so I'm probably going to run those metal links for a while and see how things go, and hopefully I don't spin the head off that servo or something. I am running the plastic servo saver, so we'll see how that works out. The other thing that I'm wanting to do, probably the first step performance-wise on this, aside from, obviously, like I said, I want to do something as far as a custom kind of look very quickly. I want to get to that. But probably the first thing performance-wise that I would like to do to this, I'm sure you have noticed, it's probably been driving you crazy that I haven't brought it up. These tires have no foam left in them. There is nothing in there. There's no foam in there, and I think if you saw that water come out, you can probably guess why. It looks like the guy that had this before, I don't know if he maybe cut some foam out in order to make his weights fit. I would say there's probably a little bit of that going on there, because he said he weighted the front tires, he did not weight the rear tires. So I think he maybe cut a little too much foam out, and then also I believe I've got a little bit of water rot going on in there. That water looks pretty nasty. I probably shouldn't be touching that. It's pretty green. But I'm probably going to actually go with some crawler innovations, Deuces Wild single stage foams. I really wanted to get those for my deadbolt for a long time, and I just never got around to it. But I don't want to go with the dual stage or anything that can rot. Those Deuces Wild single stages, they're not at all prone to rot because they're made of a different material. I like to run these things in water, so that needs to be a future-proof kind of thing. And overall is just a kind of overview of the vehicle. I'm sure a lot of people know what this thing is at this point, but just real quick, I'll kind of brush over the stuff that's highlights of this and kind of the vehicles it comes from, for those of you who are just, I guess, are seeing this video and don't know. The radio that it comes with is a Tactic. It's actually a 3-channel radio. It's a really nice feeling radio. This thing kind of feels, with the width and everything, in a way it reminds me of a DX3 Spectrum. I could be wrong, but it feels just super similar. The only difference is that the wheel has a lot faster return spring on it than the DX3 does. So other than that, it feels very similar to that. And yes, I did say 3-channel. What that means is you could hook up a winch, you could hook up a light bar, or whatever, and dial that into these little buttons here. The other thing you can do is this thing comes set up in a way that with I think it's about a $40 linkage kit from Axial, you can actually run this as a 2-speed. You need a servo and the linkage set, and you can run it as a 2-speed. I think SSD makes a linkage set that's a little more expensive, but it's a little sturdier. But essentially, you could have a 2-speed setup for servo and all about $60, which is really cool. I might do that sometime down the road. For now, probably not, because that's a little more than I want to spend right at this time. I do have a servo sitting around that's probably going to be in that at some point, but for now, not yet. Front end of this thing is, actually, I was starting to say front and rear both are the AR60 axles that you've got in the Wraith, and I believe the rear of the Axial Yeti. The front is double triangle 4-link style suspension on that axle. The rear is actually a double triangle trailing arm setup, which is more of what the Yeti has. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually an exact copy of the Yeti platform. It is a little bit longer wheelbase than a Wraith. I think it's about the same as the Yeti. I have to look that up. I can't tell you for sure, but what trailing arms allow for is basically a little bit more stability at slightly higher speeds than you would get out of just a double triangle suspension, 4-link, front and rear both, because it allows the rear to kind of soak up bumps a little more smoothly. You get a little bit more kind of travel, kind of articulation going on here that sort of carries a line. The downside to this is that the torque twist on this thing is insane. If you're on a hill at all, you're going to be sitting just like this. That's the way it is. They make a sway bar kit for the rear of this thing. Axial makes one, I think. Quite a few companies make them for the Yeti, but according to Harley Designs, they actually rub the frame here a little bit. So if I get one, just again to save some pennies and also just to have a little less hassle, I'd probably actually just get the Axial one, but the mounts are already there, everything ready to go. They have few points of adjustment here on the frame if you want to move your shocks backward. What you would get out of that on a trailing arm is if you move them backward, you're going to basically have a little bit less articulation, but you would have a little bit more stability at speed because you would have a lot less erratic behavior out of that. The laid down shocks would offer a more kind of predictable stance at speed. So it really depends on which way I plan to go as far as motor in this thing. More than likely, I'm going to start by throwing in this Axial 27 turn. I know a lot of people put 20 turns in them. Stock is a 35 turn. Probably what I'm going to do is start with a 27 and then go from there, kind of see if I like it. I've got a few different 32 pitch Robinson pinions from when I was trying to gear my SCX10 as I was weighting it, so I've got a lot of stuff to tinker with there and see how that works out. I don't think a 20 turn is what I really want, though. I don't think I want it to be that fast. I would like it to still be usable for trails and things like that. So yeah, overall, as far as the links, I've been really impressed with at least the feel, just by the hand, the feel of these links as compared to these, which are the stock Axial deadbolt links. These are just, there's just nothing. This is what one of them looked like as far as the bow to it whenever I pulled it off the deadbolts. That's supposed to be straight, and that was just from stress of the back end torquing itself up underneath the vehicle when you would take off, like I said in my video of that. So yeah, we'll probably eventually be doing some links for this thing, but at least for now, I'll run it stock and see how they hold up and see how they start to buckle. I'm sure they'll stress over time, but for now, I think they'll be fine. So there is that. You've got the weight box here in the back. I think they had that on the Yeti as well. They call it a weight box. It's kind of like a little replica fuel cell. I don't really know why you would want weight in the back of a trail truck. If there is a reason behind that, leave a comment down below, because I honestly have no idea. But I'll probably paint that up and kind of make it look cool. I think there's a hot racing metal cap for it that kind of is a replica fuel cell top, but it's like 25 bucks. So I think I'm just going to grab some of my model paints and touch that thing up at some point. You've got the battery tray right here in the front. You just remove these two body clips and just get in there that way. That's pretty cool. The only problem is that my 3 cells will not fit in there. I have some quite a bit larger 3 cells, and they just won't fit in there. So you really want lipos that the battery terminals come out of the top. The way that these come off of here at an angle in the corner, that basically won't work with this battery tray. There's a lot of good with this battery tray, and that's that it's very easy to access. You don't have to do a whole lot of digging in there to get to it and get to your batteries and take them out. You've got this little black part that flips down, but the huge downside to it is just that it's very limiting with your battery sizes that you can fit. Thickness isn't all that big of an issue. I can fit a hard pack 2 cell in there pretty easy, but you definitely couldn't go much thicker, at least as far as the batteries that I have. And length, I mean, this is a 5500 milliamp 3 cell soft pack, and it's way too long. That won't go in there. So not real happy with that, but it is pretty cool that they've got the battery tray mounted up front to begin with. That's something they didn't do with Race. They didn't do with, I know the Deadbolt didn't have it that way. I don't know if they ever had a like a Jeep JK or a Honcho that did, but I'm glad that they did go ahead and put that up front. That's great. That's cool. Just to have it up there saves you some time. You don't have to rearrange stuff. I had to move the ESC back a little bit because the way that my batteries weren't fitting in there, but I actually think that was something that the guy that had it for me may have moved it. If not, then like that's kind of weird because it was running into the battery box. But like I said, I think that was actually something he had done. So I think I've kind of went over everything. I'm starting to kind of ramble at this point. So with all that being said, what I'm going to try to do is to shoot for a certain kind of spaced out build on this. I'm not going to try to commit to anything specific as far as I'm going to spend this amount at this time, or upload every Friday or upload every other Friday. But what I'm going to shoot for, just shoot for here, is about $25 per month of stuff. I probably will swing a little bit one way, a little bit the other. It'll vary, but I'll kind of try to keep track of what I'm doing here, keep track of what I'm spending, and I'll try to do it in as much of a budget-friendly way as possible for those of you that, like me, are coming to this thing a little late now that they're available used, now that you can get these things cheaper, find them in trades for, like I did, like a modded SCX10, or somebody who has a Wraith and has gotten tired of it, and somebody who's got a Bomber that turned out to not be what they wanted. So hopefully those of you that, like me, don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on just decking it out with VP front to rear or whatever, and not to knock them, like they make a great product, it's just very expensive and out of my league. So for those of you that are like me, this build series, it's not going to blow up your inbox. There's not going to be a ton of stuff going on because it's just going to be kind of slowly but surely with this thing. But that's the plan, is to work its way into something that is like my SCX10 was, just a bomb-proof trail rig done homebrew style. So I'll probably do a little splurging here and there like I did with those links and just get something instead of making it. But for the most part, I'm going to try to make everything, or make it the most of it, So I hope you like this video. If you think you want to see more of my series on this thing, then leave a like and a sub and a comment of how freaking cool it was and how much you loved it. And I'll see you next time.